this week's episode of Pickles and Pasta with
Steph
and Jay. In this week's episode, I'm going to play Jay. Steph, you're on your own.
Okay.
So, as you know, we're now up to episode 7. It's crazy. And we didn't skip. We went in order. We went all the way 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now we're at 7. So that's cool. And thank you for the 2 or 3 of you that have been following us along this journey. We're very grateful. It's exciting, and hopefully we're going to add 2 or 3 more this week and continue to do our part to entertain you for the next X amount of minutes. This is something that has come about over quite a bit of time of just us being together as a real true couple partnership relationship. That's something very, very special that has a lot of deep meaning to us individually and together, that is just natural to us. Like, it's not, there's no rehearsal, there's nothing like we're trying to do this, we want to do whatever. And I don't use that word try really that much, if at all, anyway. But what we realized over time is that people were like really enjoying it. Like, they would say stuff and they enjoyed the little conversations, or they'd come back to us afterwards and say, we really enjoyed, when you said this thing, or the way you guys do things together. And, I think, and little by little, they were like, I think other people would like to hear it. So we kind of decided to do this. So I just wanted to kind of say thank you to all of you who kind of inspired us to do this. And hopefully we are having an impact in some way or another by sharing some of our stories. So without further ado, although I think I've probably gone too much ado already, we're going to start. So just to recap, we kind of go about this. We brainstorm. We think about things that come up during the week, things that have come up maybe before that we've rethought about, or that are kind of in and out of our lives. And we make a list of a few items that we think are relevant, that we'd like to share some experiences and ideas on our part. And I'm going to kind of jump in with the few topics that we have this week. And one that we came about from, it's just something we've talked about and it's come up, but I think I passed by one of my favorite things on the entire universe, which is Mr. Softee. And I kind of just talked about like how much that means and what it means and how it's been part of my life. And it just means something, like it resonates with me something. And Steph was like, well, that's kind of like a summer memory for you, right? That's something that means something to you. And then we started thinking about like, well, there's things that has happened in her life that although she also had Mr. Softee, but she had a Mr. Softee thing that's I haven't ever seen.
You have to wait and let me describe the Mr. Softee.
I'm going to let you describe it, because I can't even describe it. I just can't. Like, it's just I can't. But it's just interesting. Like, but we still had like a similar but different kind of memory, and it just got us thinking about it. Like, like I'm not Orthodox or anything like that, but I have traditions and things that are near and dear to my heart and during the calendar year. And so there's certain foods that I eat, and it obviously, some of it is ceremonial. Some of it reminds me of my dad or my grandma or my things like that. So we do these things, and it's just interesting how we continue on them. So we kind of thought we would just share some of our little stories of what we do and what we enjoy. And so kind of, since I guess I wound you up for this and you're so eager to tell us about it, why don't you tell us about your Mr. Softee treat that everybody just buckle up, sit down, because this is just go.
Well, we're talking about summer food and how food has, memory attached to it. And so Jay, was telling me about something he did, and that he ran into a Mr. Softee truck and he had to get his Mr. Softee. And it just sparked this whole conversation. And the interesting thing is that I grew up in rural Pennsylvania, a little town called Shamokin, Pennsylvania. And there we had Mr. Softee, and the Mr. Softee treat that me and my sisters grew up having and loving was this thing called a Georgia cup. And I don't know if it was just my Mr. Softee guy, but a Georgia cup was like the most incredible treat a child could have. It
I'm
was like this
dying.
big,
I'm
it was a
dying.
big cup, like a bigger size cup. And
It's a
he
cup,
would,
not a cone. It's a cup.
it was a cup. It was a big, like a tall cup. And he would do a thing of soft serve ice cream, like just a swirl. And
Vanilla.
then, yeah, it was vanilla and chocolate. So he would do a vanilla swirl and then he would layer rainbow sprinkles. And then he would do a chocolate swirl and layer rainbow sprinkles. And he would do this, he would fill the entire tall cup up with this concoction of ice cream and rainbow sprinkles. And when I tell you that we could have all died and gone to heaven after one of
I'm
those,
ready to go to heaven on that alone. I'm done. I'm done just thinking about it. I don't understand. Why is it called the Georgia Cup?
I have no idea.
What do you Georgia?
And it
When I
was,
think of Georgia, I think of like peach and orange. Like there's no peach, there's no orange.
I have no idea. I have no idea. It's just
You sure
that,
there weren't drugs in there? There was drugs. There was drugs. Drugs were involved.
yeah, it's called sugar.
No other drugs.
Sugar has a very close chemical makeup as heroin. So,
Well, you know that you. I mean, not. I didn't ever experience it personally, and I didn't ever
like
encounter.
heroin?
Hold yourself. I didn't ever experience it personally, and I didn't ever see it personally. But there were stories about this, and there were busts about this that the ice cream guys. I don't know if it was Mr. Softee per se. That these ice cream guys were dealing drugs out of the trucks.
Oh, well, no, we were eating ice
Saying
cream.
there was
Yeah.
a whole thing. There's a big sting operation that happened around it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like that could be a good movie, actually, by the
It was a great cover. It
way.
was. I mean, it was a great cover. Like the
Yeah.
parents would bring the kids for the ice cream, and then they would buy an ice cream, and they would get, they would get a little some drugs.
Yeah, okay. Well, good to know.
Yeah. So, all right. So the ice cream thing. I think I just put on 3 pounds just thinking about that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to like imitate the Georgia cup for you, and I will make that for you sometime.
Oh dear Lord. Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Or
See
maybe
that?
we could just have the Mr. Softy guy can he do a custom order? And
Okay,
then
I'm gonna
we'll
leave that to you because you
create.
gotta you gotta like smile and wink at him a little bit. You gotta use your like all the skills that you've got. Ain't no Mr. Softy guys doing that shit for me. Okay, that's not how he's gonna be like. Get lost, buddy. Go get your crack someplace else. You're not getting that from me. No chance he's gonna do that for me. I'm gonna put that on you. I'll even stay on the side. I won't. Even, you just go up there by yourself. Like you won't even know that you're doing it for me. He'll do it for you. You give it to me. We'll all be happy. Um, it's a good assignment. It's just let's make that happen. Let's
We
life.
will. We'll make that
We don't
happen.
know. We don't know where this planet's going. I think we need to get that taken
Yes,
care
we
of.
have to do that. We
We
have
need
to.
to take care of that. That's a
Yeah.
priority. So, but I mean, obviously, we could talk about Mr. Softy and ice cream forever because, I mean, what else does one need? But there are other things, right? Like there's just family type stuff. Like when I do like the stuff on the holidays, for me, it's like even some of the stuff that I don't even right? Like it's not my favorite thing or whatever, but I'll get it because it kind of has a good feeling. It has a nice memory, and I don't know. I think there's something about that. Like I think you have that certainly with your family, like with your family gatherings. There's certain things your mother makes, this time of the year, or that, and it's kind of it means something. I think it's special.
Yeah, no, I mean, there are so many traditions around food, and we all have so many memories, and hopefully they're good memories. I mean, I do have some bad memories about certain foods like lima beans. I hated lima beans as a child, and it's so vivid in my head remembering when my mother would make dinner, and we had like in our house, we lived in a split level, and I have four siblings, and so we would all sit in a line at this like bar counter that we had in our kitchen, and I have such a vivid memory of her having lima beans included on my plate, and she would not let me leave the kitchen until those lima beans were gone. And literally, like, they tasted like sand to me. I just thought they were disgusting. And so, we have these associations and these memories, and some of them are funny. I have so many funny memories around food. Like being the oldest child, I have to share this one with you because this really will sum it up. Being the oldest child, I thought it was my duty to entertain my siblings. And so, sometimes, my mom would leave the kitchen while we were all having dinner, and I would come up with a great idea. And I said, okay, let's pretend we're cavemen and let's eat without our utensils as if we were cavemen. So, like, my mom would come back in the room and, we were all like, me, I'm being the oldest, and I have three sisters and a brother, and we were all like eating with our hands and like grunting as if we're cavemen. So that's another.
And she's like, "What the is going on? What's wrong with you
And
people?"
then, I chime right in. I'm like, Mom, I thought it would be a great idea if we ate like cavemen.
And then she's like, "More lima beans for you." See, this is this. Yeah, it. I mean, it certainly explains a lot. I mean, I know you've shared a lot of these stories with me. I love the caveman story, but it's interesting, like eating with your family, like it's no matter who it is, like just the way things line up. It's like it's interesting, like though that's your. It's just so natural for you, like the way you guys eat. Not that it's a bad thing, but the way you guys, when you call it that you plate, like you plated me and stuff like that, and it's like it's just interesting. I mean, it's just these memories that I think are cool, and I think it does revolve around food. It just somehow, even any of us that have had it like harder times, right? Like that during that, you've had ups and downs and throughout your lifetime. I've had ups and downs through my lifetime. There's certain food memories that even as we're talking about it, I can think of like times that I had to really stretch things and I had to make it work, and either with my daughter or whatever, like, and you get creative, but it creates this sort of memory that is very special that
Yeah.
that you take with you, and I think it's interesting. So yeah, it's cool. Well, Georgia Cup, I'm getting my Georgia Cup. So all of you guys in the audience, thank you, because I've been kind of trying to figure out how do I get the Georgia Cup, and being on this podcast, it's all about pickles and pasta. Like that's how we get shit done. So
Yeah.
thank
And
you
our,
to
the
our
name
to
of
our
our show
audience.
is Pickles and Pasta. I mean, more food.
Yeah, we're good. It's interesting how we set these things up, and there's always a segue that was totally not planned or rehearsed. I promise you guys, this is by no means rehearsed at all. And Steph reminds me of that every episode, by the way. So, but as I just mentioned, me hopefully eventually getting this Georgia Cup um, is a win for me. And the next topic on our list is celebrating personal wins.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there you go. There's mine. I don't need.
That
I
was
can.
good.
Perfect
Yeah.
lined up. But interestingly, we have talked about this, and Steph and I have talked about this numerous times, and I've certainly been a big proponent with Steph directly in saying, like, you got to celebrate the little ones, and you got to be grateful for the little things, and all these different things and stuff that I've kind of put into the way I look at things over the years. And because the world can be crazy sometimes, and days can sometimes be not so much fun, and but you can always kind of look and see, and it's difficult, I think, when you have a whether it's a business or something you're striving for, like being an artist is a business, but it's more of like you're achieving things in a different way. Like if a business like a store or a manufacturing company or a tech company, whatever, is a business that has kind of like certain things, and as an artist it's very different, but it still is a business, and there are wins that come along the way, little things. So like if you have a business where you have clients multiple, like if you have a coffee shop, if you have whatever production company, whoever, getting a client is a win, and renewing a contract is a win. There's these little things that happen. And as an artist, the wins are a little bit different, right? Like if you're a musician, there's a certain win, like somebody liked the song that you wrote, or you got a gig, or whatever. And as a painter, an artist, a creative artist like you are, there are all sorts of little wins, and sometimes they're not monetary. Like sometimes it's not, a big win. I got into a gallery, or I sold it. And sometimes those little wins are so important because when you acknowledge them yourself and you share them without gloating, without showing off, because I don't think that's a good thing to do. It's certainly not your personality. It's not my personality at all to do that. A lot of people do that, and if that works for them, God bless them. But there's something about having like that little win that leads to the next win, that gets you to the bigger win. And I think it's easier said than done when you're like, I don't want to say necessarily modest, but when you're kind of like conscious of yourself and you don't want to make people feel weird. So it's a little weird to like celebrate those, but I think it's important to do that. And I know I've said that to you, and I'm going to throw it out there now. I mean, you've in recent weeks, like I've had some like really beautiful, beautiful wins, and even earlier today, like a major, which I'm so proud and excited for you. But yeah, I mean, maybe you can share a little bit about like how you feel about that, like because it's been hard for you, like to even when you've had little things, right? Like little getting into whatever, like how you felt around, like how do you celebrate that?
Yeah, I thank you, Jay. Thanks for leading up to that. Yeah, so I'm just going to say today I had a call with two potential collectors, and needless to say, they are buying the painting. So today I had a verbal agreement that they are going to be purchasing a new painting I just finished, which is one of the biggest paintings I've ever made. And so it's very exciting. And I almost like, I've been very calm about this whole thing because, you can get your hopes up easily. Like when you're, in design and fashion and art, there's so many possibilities. And so often things seem like they're going to be good and then something happens. And, for quite a while, it's been difficult. There's been a lot of things happening that just things haven't been flowing the way I would like them to. And I've been obviously putting a lot of work in. So I think going into this conversation today, like even when I talked to you in the morning, I was not overthinking it. And I've been doing a lot of work, personal self work around being in the right space to have the conversation and to really feel confident in my words and the way I'm going to articulate, like for instance in this conversation today, like I didn't know what they were going to ask me. I didn't know anything. So you're going into this kind of like with high hopes, but you don't know how it's going to go. And when I was talking to you today, I was feeling it. I was like, okay, like I'm ready for this conversation. I'm just excited to meet people who are truly moved by my work. And that alone is exciting. And that alone is, a conversation worth having. So the fact that they were very eager to tell me this is a done deal. We've been looking for years for a work that speaks to us. That was just very exciting. And to your point about celebrating the win, I just think in recent years I've become very humbled by how I think people perceive me, in the digital age, what my digital footprint is. And like, I just hear things from people, and people either love you or they hate you. And, obviously you can't control how people feel about you, but it does hurt, and I am sensitive to people judging me that don't know me or judging me for something that really isn't representational of me. So I think I'm just very cautious. And so when this really amazing thing happened today, I literally wanted to understand, like, spiritually, is it okay to like say to people, I just sold the biggest painting I've ever sold, and how do you celebrate something that's really good, that you really worked hard for a long time, that happened? And I think it's really important to actually celebrate a win like that, because I think it then shows, and I know sounds very goofy, but I am a person who does believe in, energy and the universe. And I think it's a way that, we as humans let the universe know that this is great. This is something I want to happen in my life. I'm so grateful that it happened. And I'm acknowledging it. I'm acknowledging the energy of it. So I do think it's important to celebrate it and to tell people who actually care, and to keep that energy like in a gratitude space.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think, look, this is certainly, big for sure. I wouldn't call this a little win, but it's also, this is a long time coming, right? Like, this is the work that you've been doing, not for the amount of time that it took you in this painting, because in the grand scheme of life, this painting took a long time, but you've been painting a lot longer,
Yeah,
and
of
you were
course.
painting a lot of other things that led you to other things that led you to other things that led you to this painting.
Yeah,
And truth be told, this painting is not what this painting was. So,
that
and
is
that painting, which was really cool prior, is now this painting, which is also super cool, that really resonated with this person that was looking for something. And somehow all of that work and all of that energy got there. So, I think you have been acknowledging that in recent time, let's call it, where, through our conversations and different things that you've done on your own with nothing to do with me, just at least taking those moments and saying, I'm gonna acknowledge this little things that have happened. Whereas before, maybe 5 years ago, you wouldn't have. You would have been like, yeah, whatever, I got to keep going. And you still do that, right? Like, it's not like you stop and you're like, okay, I'm good. Like, you're still at it. Like, you're still doing other things. You're still going to keep, it's not like, okay, I sold a painting, I'm good, thank you. Like, you're still, that's where like that entrepreneurial part comes into play. Like, you're always thinking more and the next thing. And but I think the fact that you've taken some of these little acknowledgments here and there, as little as they may be, where you can reflect back and be like, yeah, I did that. I wasn't able to do that before. I think that helps get you to these places. And,
yeah, yeah.
it's, and it gets you to be to a place when you have the bigger win and the bigger win and the bigger win. You accept those bigger wins with a lot more grace,
Hmm.
which you have anyway, like inherently, like you're gracious and you're elegant and you're beautiful and all these wonderful things. But when you already have that within you, of like, I understand how to accept a win, when you get to the bigger and bigger wins, it feels more natural. And so you're able to kind of accept the celebration and share that in a positive way, which ultimately inspires people, which is part of who you are. And I think that's what's really beautiful about this.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like, when it happened, I was kind of like, I wasn't expecting them to be like, oh no, we don't need to think about it. We definitely want it. And like hearing those words come out of their mouth was like, oh, you want the painting, you really do. And it's like, oh, am I allowed to be excited about this? Am I allowed to be um, truly like happy about this development, of something I made? And it's exciting, and I'm grateful.
Yeah. Well, the short answer is yes. And the long answer is that, I mean, we've touched on certain things in previous episodes, but there's certain parts of your experiences in life, let's call it, without using any terminology, that led you to think that way, in a way, like to think twice about, like, am I allowed to accept this? Am I allowed to acknowledge this? Is it good enough? Like all that sort of stuff. And I think that's where hopefully you can see the growth that I've been seeing in you for all these years, and continue to remind you every day, because this is you're going in a different direction, and it kind of is, a lot of things are going to continue to change and evolve and grow, and I think it's beautiful. I think this is all just really great stuff that's happening, and it's exciting to see too. I'm glad to have a backstage pass for all this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, so, tying that together with our next topic, which is how we show up for others, which is in a way related to this, right? Like acknowledging our wins is one thing, but showing up for, family, whatever that may be, partners, friends, like, it's interesting that not everybody understands that, what it really means to show up for others. Like, how do we do it? And there's no right way to do it. Like, I don't think I think the reality is that as humans, a species that I find so incredibly interesting, that humans are all different, right? So, like, how you show up for one person is not the same way you show up for another person. You can't just have this, like, this is how I do this. And even, for you, I mean, you have it. I have it complex in my world for different reasons. You have it complex in your world for different reasons. But, like, your two daughters, obviously there's similarities, but they're very different in many other ways. And so
Hmm.
how you show up for Gabby is different than how you show up for Allegra.
Right.
Neither one is right or wrong, but it is different.
Yeah.
There's similarities because you're a mother, you're their mother, so you're
Mhm.
mother to one, mother to the other. But how you listen to Gabby is different than how you listen to Allegra. How you give advice to Allegra is different than how you give advice to Gabby. And then you have your mother, and then you have your siblings, and then you have your friends. And you have all these different things. And it's interesting when you see that, because I think we have to kind of understand the core of what showing up means, like just the base of that. And then from there, it can sprout out into be the many different ways that we apply that. But I think the learning, just that concept in and of itself, like, what does showing up for others mean? Then we can adapt. And I say that not all people can adapt. Like, some people only have one way to show up for others, and they show up the same way for, it could be a mother that has two or three kids, and they show up the same way for every kid. And if the kid doesn't get it, well, that's just tough shit. That worked 100 years ago. That don't work no more. So, so it's interesting how these things kind of evolve and have to evolve. And I think you've experienced it, and again, I mean, this is the let's tell the world how amazing Steph show this episode. Really, it's, I've been through this. I mean, I've felt it long before I came back into this universe, but I've physically seen it in years of how you handled it for yourself, like how much trauma you had and hard times, and now how things are easier for you, and how, not that they're easy, but your ability to adjust to things has evolved over time. And I don't know, maybe you can share how you've adapted to showing up because you're showing up differently for everybody that's in your universe.
Well, what is showing up? Like, what is the definition of that? So for me to answer that, I think showing up is important for people who matter to you specifically. And because I think this world is hard, I know I have a privileged existence and my life is still hard. I got plenty of things that people knew about them, they'd be like, okay, I don't want to deal with that. So we all have our things, no matter who we are. And I think I have learned very much just in the past 3 years alone, of me. Actually, I would just go back to 2021, really when I started my own therapy. I have learned so much since then through the therapy of why it's important to show up for other people and what can happen when you can effectively show up for people that matter to you. So to elaborate on what that means, everybody's different. You know, my two daughters, as you said, are very different from each other. So I'm going to show up for something for Gabrielle in a very customized way for the specific thing she's going through and for her specific, her strengths and weaknesses and how maybe her weakness in that situation is showing up and where she needs guidance, or maybe where she just needs someone to slightly, very gently, and even maybe even subconsciously steer her back in the right direction. So I think that my showing up for people I love has gotten an upgrade, because I have learned how to navigate my personal relationships better than I ever have before. And that is through my therapy, because it's allowed me to understand my own behavior more and how my own behavior has affected my relationships. And so if I can navigate showing up for people, taking out the parts that don't don't work well with that particular person in that particular situation, I can more effectively help them. So I think that that has just become really important to me because I truly want to be the best person I can be. And I want to help people I love um, have a better have a better outcome in life, or a better outcome in whatever it is they're dealing with. And I just think it's the right thing to do to try and help other people.
Yeah, I would say that makes a lot of sense. I mean, a lot of times when you show up for people, it can just be just literally just listening. Like
Yeah.
sometimes something all they may want at the time, and I've said this for a really long time, that too many people help people the way they feel that person needs to be helped, and they don't actually listen or pay attention to really the way that person has to be helped. And it's I've said this forever, and I say that because I've seen it. I've seen where people are like, "Oh, this is how I'm going to help this person." You're like, "But that's not what they're asking for." And if you actually stepped out of yourself, you'd see that's really not going to benefit them. And it takes a lot of one to see that. Like when you're in that place, like you care about a person, whatever they may be. It could be a business associate, it could be a friend, it could be a lover, it could be a family member. You have to understand them. You have to really pay attention. And I'm not saying when someone's on drugs and they want drugs, you got to give them drugs. Although sometimes that is what they have get to get to the better place. And I've seen that. I've seen situations where someone had to have that. They needed that extra drink to get to that other place where they were now in a place to kind of acknowledge where they were and they could then heal. And again, I'm not recommending giving someone drugs or alcohol or whatever, but as a general thing, you have to kind of if you really want to help someone and you really want to show up for someone, you have to take your ego out of the equation. You have to take what you think is best out of the equation and look at them from that bigger picture. And of course, you have an opinion about someone that you care about, or you have an opinion based on your life and your experiences. So that, of course, makes sense. But when you just try to make that, then all you're doing is trying to make them do what you want them to do. And that may not be the best path for them. And I think, sometimes that's really not fun, when you're showing up for that person. It can be having to do stuff. I mean, you've done stuff that is certainly not fun, right? Like you've put yourself, you've given time, you've given energy, you've driven places, you've given things of yourself. You know, it's not always fun, but what is fun is the win in a way. The fun is when that person feels better, when that person is healthier, when that person is achieving in a way. Whether they ever thank you for it or not is irrelevant.
Yeah, no, I get
Relevant is that, you know, you were there, you can look at yourself and say, you know what, I was there, I did that, and it felt good. And it's yeah, I think that's really important.
well, I mean, especially like in a parental situation, I know like this topic came up a lot for me because last week my daughter had a woman that she knew passed away, and it was a very it was a very touchy situation for her, and she needed to go to this funeral, and she reached out to me and asked me if I would go with her because she didn't want to go alone. And, you know, I didn't hesitate. You know, I definitely had other plans, but, you know, when my children need me, there's just no question. You know, and so I really saw it as an opportunity to to show up for her the way she needed me to show up. And I was so, I mean, after, you know, it wasn't fun. Yeah. It was like we drove like 5 hours each way. You know, I was a little nervous about it, knowing how triggered she would be. But I am so grateful that she asked me. And I'm so grateful that I was the person who said yes without hesitation and was able to just listen to her and let her vent and not talk and tell her all the things that I think she should know. Like, it's really hard sometimes to show up the way they need you to.
Yeah. And as yeah, as I've seen 3 years ago, this would have been a lot harder for you.
And believe me, I still mess up. Like, literally, I think I messed up earlier tonight. You know, showing up in an older way over something that triggers me, and but I'm aware of it, and I'm going to make it right. But, you know, like, this isn't an easy thing, especially when you've been doing something a certain way for a really long time. Like, years ago, my showing up had a one size fits all. And now my showing up is very customized. And it's usually with putting tape over my mouth.
Well, but we've spent a lot of time, you know, going through this, experiencing this. We've seen things. We've, you know, I hear things that you may not hear. We can talk about them. Other things come up. Like I think that's part of it. You know, there's a little bit of like, it's those habits are very tricky to break. Like it's instinctive to do something. You know, I mean, there's studies on this. Like, you know, people put their shoes on the same way. Like people, there's certain things that people do. They're totally unconscious. If you ask them, they're totally screwed up. Like they don't know what to do. If you ask them how to do it, my father, my father used to do this. I'm taking a sidebar here for a second, but it reminded me of something that maybe make you laugh. So when I went to yeshiva, which is Orthodox Jewish school, and so there were rabbis that taught us, and so we were just around a lot of people like that. A lot of people that weren't that super religious, but whatever. And so, you know, we've all seen Orthodox people, whether they're Greek Orthodox or rabbis, and they have like a long beard. And my father said to me, well, I was a child. I mean, really a little child. I said, "Hey, go up to that rabbi and ask him, hey, Rabbi, when you go to sleep at night, do you put your beard under the cover or over the cover?" He's like, "I guarantee you he won't sleep all night." And I was like, "Okay, I'm not doing that." But that was the kind of sense of humor my father used to have. But
It's
point
cute.
is, there's a habit to that, right? Like to the rabbi story, he probably did sleep the same way every night, right? His beard probably was either under the cover or over the cover every night.
So crazy.
And but that's how we are, right? So like when we're showing up for someone and they say something and we're used to hearing that thing, we have an instinct, we have a habit that we've, just from over time doing it, like, oh, this is what I say. And I think as we evolve, those who want to evolve or do evolve, we take a beat sometimes, right? We take that beat and be like, okay, I've worked on this. Maybe that was my instinct before, but now I know a little bit better, or now I'm going to try something a little different and see how it works. And I think you've done a tremendous job with that. I mean, and of course, nothing is perfect. We're always going to make a little bit of a slip and a little bit of a this, but I'd say overall, I mean, you're doing a tremendous job with that. And I think you are showing up in your own way. And I think what I also think is when we show up authentically, it actually feels better. I think when we show up in that way where it's forced, like we do it because like we're supposed to do it, but it's like, oh, but I wanted to do this today and I wanted that. And we don't feel that way. And like, I can sense that like with you, and I have other people that I know that have done this sort of thing where they're like, yeah, I went and did this thing, but oh my God, I was supposed to do this and it ruined my whole day and my whole week is screwed up because of this. And then it changes to be like, yeah, I had that thing today. So, I had a little bit of a delay and stuff, but I mean, I'm really glad I did it. And your responses have been, I'm really glad I did it. Like you feel that. And that's really a beautiful thing. So kudos to you.
Karma.
Gesundheit. Okay. And on that note, I think it's time for the rapid fire questions. Okay, you'll understand why I'm laughing another time. Anyway, so I think you went first last week, didn't you? I think so.
Yeah.
So that means I'll go. So I'm going to ask the questions first.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite cartoon growing up?
Scooby-Doo.
Read minds or teleport? Like, which one would you prefer?
I would prefer to be able to teleport.
Sleep on a plane or stay awake?
I'd prefer to sleep. I'd prefer to sleep. Sorry.
Okay. You do realize that's not rapid, right?
I know.
So sorry. And just the answer is
Sleep on a plane.
Sleep. Okay.
All right. So, Jay, what was your favorite cartoon growing up?
Foghorn Leghorn.
Okay.
I mean, I liked a lot of them. I mean, there's no question that's not the only one.
Yeah.
Foghorn Leghorn to me, I just boy, I say boy, I say boy, I see. I mean, oh my goodness,
That's so funny. I did not. He annoyed me.
Oh my God, I loved him. So I could watch. If you put Foghorn Leghorn right now, I will definitely laugh. There's no me watching Foghorn. I'm actually after this episode, I'm gonna go look up some Foghorn Leghorn. I did this actually years ago. Somehow it came up, and I was like, I can't. And I went and started watching Foghorn Leghorn for like 20
minutes. Well, you do have a similar voice to his.
What?
He has like that very deep voice.
Yeah, and the southern accent is so apparent in my.
Well, I don't mean it's just the decibel of your manly voice.
Okay, that's nice. It's a little shaky on the recovery there, but okay, I'll take it.
No, it's true. There's no shakiness. Okay. Read minds or teleport?
I already can't read minds, so teleport.
Okay. Sleep on a plane or stay awake?
So I prefer to sleep, but I lean towards staying awake. Like that's a kind of a weird one because I know.
That's why I hesitated.
I know. I could fall asleep on the runway. Like literally, I've fallen asleep on the runway so many times. Yeah. But I'm always like, no, I got to stay awake. I got to do this. I got to take care of that. I can't be wasting all this time being on the plane. So, um, yeah.
Cool. Well, there we go, folks.
So yeah, that's wait, but that's not your Looney Tunes is mine. Scooby Doo wasn't Looney Tunes. Foghorn Leghorn was Looney Tunes.
Okay.
But there's also like, I mean, I know the question was growing up. So, but like, and I know you don't like it, but I love me my Rugrats. I mean, I watched Rugrats with my daughter, and oh my goodness, we love that. We would really love that together. That was a yeah. It was
Okay, so we have different taste in cartoons.
yeah.
Although I really enjoyed the last South Park that was on.
Yeah, we're not going to touch. We're not touching
I
that.
know.
We're definitely not touching that. Not on this podcast. That's for a
No,
whole other podcast.
I know. I'm
Not,
joking.
no, no, no.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you all 70 billion people that watched this episode. We are grateful. Checks in the mail. And thank you for being here. And we look forward to seeing you again on the next episode of Pickles and Pasta with.
Steph and Jay.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye.